Nainesh, you said that there are loopholes in this act also, and the insurance companies, they might be benefited from this act.
And after much debate, it was agreed at the Senate that amendments should be made to what was then Bill C-22, and now it's the Canada Disability Act.
So what are the good points of this act first?
But there's a real risk, the way policies are worded right now, that they in fact will do that. And the result of that will be this. They will pay less benefits, and the taxpayer will end up paying more. We're premature here. This act is basically about 2 pages long.
Okay.
It's bare bones.
This is a federal act.
Yes.
So how the provincial insurance acts work? Is there any difference in that, or it's a difference? So if this disability act becomes a law, then will this affect those also, those who are already on disability benefits, private insurance companies? But their reaction is something different. So what is their reactions, and why are you saying that there is a loophole in there?
Because it's the same debate that happened with Canada Pension Plan Disability.
Yeah.
And the private insurers took advantage of that and deduct that. This disability benefit is designed really to help people survive. Section 9 of this legislation says the benefit will not be reduced or offset, deducted by any act of Parliament. I would suggest to people, you talk to your politicians about this, and we do need a definitive statement, I think, from each and every disability insurer.
ਆਟਵਾ ਦੀ ਤਰਫ ਤੋਂ ਨਵਾਂ ਡਿਸੇਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਐਕਟ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਉਸ ਐਕਟ ਦੇ ਕੁਝ ਅੱਛੇ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਔਰ ਕੁਝ ਲੂਪਹੋਲਸ ਆ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਨ ਅਦਰ ਦੈਨ ਨਨੇਸ਼ ਕੋਟਕ ਫਰੋਮ ਕੋਟਕ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਇੰਜਰੀ ਲਾਅ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਡਿਸੇਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਐਕਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣੇ ਹੈ। ਨਨੇਸ਼, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ।
Thank you for having me on the show.
Nainesh, federal government has passed a new act, Disability Act. Right. So what is this act about?
Right. So, there's a recognition here in Canada that a great proportion of disabled people are in fact in poverty. The stats show around 23% of disabled people actually are living under the poverty line. And this legislation, the Canada Disability Act, is designed to provide some assistance by giving a minimum amount of support for people in that type of situation. It's been a long time coming. It's an act that in fact really received universal party support in Parliament. So, it is very well intentioned, and the purpose behind it is noble and I think necessary. There is concern among many disability groups, though, that there are loopholes in this legislation that will be used by private insurers to enrich themselves at the expense of disabled people and in fact at the expense of taxpayers.
Okay, so what are the good points of this act first?
Right. Yeah. First of all, it is designed again to provide a minimum amount of compensation to disabled people, number one. And if you look at the Hansard debates and discussions on this, and if you look at part of the Act, Section 9, the intention is not to have that benefit deducted by any other scheme. And the Section 9 says any other act of Parliament. So it is supposed to be, the intention, this is what is being presented to the public, is this is a top-up to anything else you might be getting if you're disabled and you're in poverty. And we know we're dealing with a really severe inflationary crisis that has been ongoing for the past few years. Cost of food has gone up, cost of essential items has gone up. This disability benefit is designed really to help people survive, keep people, so that they don't end up, being without a home, they don't end up without shelter, without food. It really has a very altruistic and noble and legitimate and good purpose.
Nainesh, you said that there are loopholes in this act also. Yes. And the insurance companies, they might be benefited from this act,
right. Private
insurance companies. But their reaction is something different. So what is their reactions, and why are you saying that there is a loophole in there?
Yeah, let me first explain where the problems could be. So many employees have available to them from work short-term or long-term disability benefits. And there are some individual professionals who have their own. Each of those insurance policies have provisions that provide for the deduction, offsetting, or clawback of benefits if you're getting something else. For example, most disability insurance policies provide that if you're receiving Canada Pension Plan disability benefits, irrespective of the premium you paid, they get to deduct what they pay you through the long-term disability plan by the amount you're getting from CPP disability or that you could be getting. Similarly, the danger is with respect to this benefit as well. Now, Section 9 of this legislation says the benefit will not be reduced or offset, deducted by any act of Parliament. This means that if there's another federal benefit, another federal act, that there should be no deduction. That passed initially in Parliament. By the time for an act to become law, it needs to be passed at Parliament, House of Commons, and then it goes to the Senate, and then it goes back for final approval.
So what is the standing of this act now?
So what happened? It went to the Senate. By that time, alarm bells started ringing. And submissions were made to the Senate committee that was dealing with this piece of legislation. And after much debate, it was agreed at the Senate that amendments should be made to what was then Bill C-22, and now it's the Canada Disability Act, to provide that in Section 9, when it deals with offsets and deductions, that there should be no offset clawback deduction through private insurance or any other, or a trust payment, for a trust fund payment, for example, a disability payment. That was passed at the Senate, went back to Parliament. But unfortunately, there was a real rush, and justifiably so, there was a rush to get this legislation passed. The concern at Parliament was that, is there a constitutional question? Meaning, can the federal government legislate what a private insurer could do? Because that's provincial jurisdiction. But they've done that historically. They've done it with things like banking, and because you need to allow the purpose. This federal spending needs to go where it's supposed to go and achieve the purpose of the legislation. And the Senate looked at the constitutional issue, agreed there's no constitutional question. Unfortunately, the House of Commons didn't. Their biggest worry is any of the provinces are going to challenge this, Because, if we're seeing, particularly with Quebec, if we're seeing stepping on their jurisdiction, are they going to challenge it? And they didn't want that. They want it passed. But by doing that, by passing the bill to become an act without amending Section 9, where we have the reference to deduction and offset, the loophole has been opened to private insurers to actually do exactly what they do with Canada Pension Plan disability benefits, to deduct. Now, you asked me what has been their position. So no one has asked each individual disability insurer. But the Canadian Life and Health Insurers Association is an umbrella body. They don't say things that are binding on insurance companies. They sort of look to them for guidance, so they all sort of do the same thing when it comes to disability, life, and health insurance. They have said at Parliament, and they sent a letter to the Senate, where they said that, look, we won't seek a deduction, but make it a social benefit. The problem with that, number one, what they say is not binding on the insurance companies, but number two, the way disability contracts are worded right now, they can deduct. Because those disability contracts say they can deduct from the benefits they pay anything you're receiving from any federal disability plan, which would include this benefit. So the real danger is, I understand what they're saying to the public, and hopefully they stick by that and they don't deduct or offset. But there's a real risk, the way policies are worded right now, that they in fact will do that. And the result of that will be this. They will pay less benefits, and the taxpayer will end up paying more because it's a federal government benefit, despite the fact that people or employers have paid a premium to achieve a specific disability benefit from the private insurer.
So Nainesh, if anybody, because we know many Canadians, they are on disability, they survive on the disability benefits that they get from their insurance. So if this Disability Act becomes a law, then will this affect those who are already on disability benefits?
Yes, it could. It could. Look, as I said, I'm not against the act itself. We needed this act. We need something to protect those who are in poverty and disabled. But yes, there are those who are already receiving long-term disability, or not short, but long-term disability. There is a risk that their benefits could be reduced because this Canada Disability benefit could be available to them. And if you don't apply, for example, with CPP disability benefits, this is the exact same thing that happened. And insurers get to deduct it. So yes, theoretically, even if you're already on it, you could be told, well, you better apply for this benefit, and we get to deduct it. And again, we're premature here. This act is basically about 2 pages long. It's bare bones. Regulations have yet to be made, enacted. There's no appeal process set out. We don't know what the minimum benefit is going to be. The theory, what we're hearing in rumors, it's around $2,200. We don't know. There's a lot of unknowns here. But, you know, because it's the same debate that happened with Canada Pension Plan Disability, and the private insurers took advantage of that and deduct that. The fear is this is exactly what's going to happen again, and then we're no better off for those who are in poverty and those who are disabled, because simply they're not getting that top up that this act is designed to do. They wouldn't get it.
Okay.
And this is where, you know, I would suggest to people, you know, you talk to your politicians about this, and we do need a definitive statement, I think, from each and every disability insurer that we're not going to touch this benefit. We understand it is a minimum benefit that is provided to top up. Anything else is there. That's what the insurance companies need to step up and say.
Nainesh, this is a federal act.
Yes.
So how the provincial insurance acts work? Is there any difference in that, or it's a different?
Right. So in the province we have the Insurance Act, and what's going on right now is there is discussions between the federal government and all the provincial governments of how this benefit would interplay with provincial disability benefits, such as, for example, in Ontario, ODSP. Okay, in each province, Alberta has ACE, we have ODSP. So there is still an unknown there. If you get Canada Disability Benefit, will they take you off ODSP? Will they reduce it? And we don't know what they're going to do with that. The real concern is for benefits that have been paid for, private insurance, what's going to happen, you know, in terms of deductions there. But you're absolutely right. There is going to be an interplay between provincial disability benefits and this federal benefit. That's going to have to be sorted out. Our Insurance Act does, you know, our province can legislate what insurance companies can deduct, what they won't deduct. But we all know, you know, the provinces have many things they're dealing with right now all over the country, and it's quite unlikely they will put their minds to this legislation that could affect their benefits or could affect private insurance. And I think, in my opinion, it's incumbent on insurance companies to put their position out there to the public and be very clear about it.
And what is your final message to the public? What they have to ask to their politicians, MPs, what they have to ask them?
I think, look, if you can do this, because although the act has been passed, regulations are still being formed, I think it's just some pressure to put on insurance companies, and not in a bad way. Look, I'm not saying insurance companies are bad. They do pay benefits. This act is a very good act. But get clarity. Are you going to try to deduct the Canada Disability benefits that I may get from my group or private insurance that I would get from long-term disability? Are you going to try to do that? Because that's not fair, because my employer paid for those benefits, and this is a minimum benefit that I would get because I'm in poverty. And their representations in the past have been a little bit wishy-washy, but it seems they're suggesting they won't if it's a social benefit and not an income benefit. But that kind of goes against what their policies say right now, that they would deduct it regardless. So I think asking your representatives, please get clarity from insurance companies. What exactly are they going to do when this act comes in, you know, when benefits actually start flowing from this legislation, from this act? And again, I'm not against the act. I think it's a long time coming. We needed the Canada Disability Benefit to help those disabled people in poverty, but we need to make sure that loopholes are taken care of that could just enrich insurance companies.
So if anyone want to get more information about the disability benefits, where can they reach you? Right.
Look, we have a very open door policy, a free consultation. I would suggest you check out our website, kotaklaw.com. We have an online intake form. You can fill that out. You can call our office. You know, we have a 1-888-GO-KOTAK number. We also have local numbers throughout the country as well. And we'd be happy to help anybody who has a disability claim or is having an issue with insurance companies in terms of payment of those claims.
Thank you, Nainesh.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So ਆ ਸੀਗੇ ਨਨੇਸ਼ ਕੋਟਕ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਇੰਜਰੀ ਲਾਅ ਤੋਂ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਨਵਾਂ ਡਿਸੇਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਐਕਟ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੀ ਤਰਫ ਤੋਂ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ, ਬਹੁਤ ਅੱਛਾ ਐਕਟ ਹੈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਕੁਝ ਲੂਪ ਹੋਲਸ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਸ਼ੀਅਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਟਕ ਲਾਅ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਟੈਕਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਉਮੀਦ ਹੈ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਅੱਛਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਹੋਵੇਗਾ। ਦੇਖਦੇ ਰਹੋ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ।